satisfaction for people to say that the blood of these police officers are on the mayor's hands. That is not true. I lost police officers. Other mayors have lost police officers. That's a very, very damaging thing to say, and it shouldn't be said.
The former mayor of New York City is not timid about his comments and pointing out that mistakes were indeed made leading up to the killing of 2 police officers. And this points to a lack of leadership and the continuing discussion about cops, race, and who is responsible for making these relationships better. It's a pleasure to welcome back to MidPoint Chairman of the National Black Police Association, representing more than 80,000 African-American officers, Malik Aziz. Malik, thank you so much for joining us today.
Oh, thank you for having me.
When we look at what happened in New York, and again, those were the words of Mayor Rudy Giuliani, the former mayor, where he said it is not fair to blame the current mayor, Bill de Blasio, for what happened. Obviously, Bill de Blasio did not do anything to bring a man from Baltimore to New York to come looking for cops to kill. But did he fail in his leadership, and did he fail in backing up the police department?
Yes, I don't think that it's a fair assessment to actually attribute blame for the coward Brinsley for murdering 2 of New York's police department's finest officers. There's no way that he could be responsible. That those actions, that murderous action that Brinsley took, is on his hands alone. He is the murderer, and condolences and prayers go out to Officer Lou and Ramos' family, and for a speedy recovery for Shanika Thompson as well. So, I mean, no, I can't agree with that type of assessment, nor do I believe it's productive. When a tragedy like this occurs, we need to be talking about getting together and mending the fences and trying to move forward for the citizens at hand, and not further dividing ourselves.
Then let's talk about trying to make things a little bit better. The Reverend Al Sharpton is on the ground in New York. He has been at the forefront of many of the protests and many of these different displays, if you will, at various places across the country. The mayor of New York asked yesterday for the protests to stop until the funerals of the police were held. Reverend Sharpton today has said that the request was too ill-defined to heed, and he will not hold off on any protests. They will continue even through the police officers' funerals. Is that simply just despicable?
For me, serving in this profession for 26 years, I would like to see, people take their hats off and pay tribute to fallen officers, just not in New York City, but around the United States. I think that for compromise means that both sides have to give up something in order for us to move forward. And you don't always get everything you want, but you'll get some things. And I think the good thing about it is that in all the good intentions of Reverend Al Sharpton, he is not the de facto leader of all black people in the United States. So they're protesters, good protesters, 99%, who are doing a great job in trying to reform the police and the criminal justice system. They can make up their own minds should they pay tribute to my fallen brothers who lost their lives to this coward.
But Malik, isn't that a slap in the face of police in general? Because this is a man who says, I have nothing against the police. He says he backs them. But people like this who don't take the time to allow something to heal, isn't that part of the problem?
Well, people, that's the wonderful thing about being in America, that everyone has their opinions and their views. I'm not necessarily saying that that's part of the problem. I think that part of the solution, though, is for us to make amends with each other and try to move forward. So I'm not against what he's trying to do or what he thinks he should be doing, but he's just one voice with a group of following of people, and there are many other voices in this movement who have the right to determine whether they're going to take their hats off and pay a tribute to the fallen officers or not.
Then where are those other voices? I have to ask you that because we're not hearing the other voices.
And we don't give them enough attention because we have, you mentioned Reverend Al Sharpton. So other leaders who are leading protests, who are making small change, they don't have a national name. They're in their neighborhoods. They're citizens in their boroughs in New York. They're citizens all around in every city who are trying to make a change, but they don't have national recognition, so their voices are not heard. They're silent. No one gives them a mic, or no one calls them on
Isn't it time for them to stop being silent?
Well, they are. They are not. They are saying what they have to say, but they're not getting the national media attention, or even, to that matter, the local media attention. I saw very few outlets where they've been on and been able to voice their concerns and they're just as outrageous over this despicable act as anyone else.
Okay, I'm going to ask you to hold on just a moment because we're up against the clock. Malik Aziz from the National Black Police Association stays with us after the break, and we'll touch on what black officers are now charged with doing in taking their leadership role on the street. 51 minutes after the hour, also telling it like it is on MidPoint. Let's welcome back to MidPoint the national chairman of the National Black Police Association, Malik Aziz. Malik, here's an instance where it just might be getting very difficult for officers of color to do their job. According to the Reuters news agency, they interviewed 25 African-American male officers on the NYPD, 15 of whom are retired, 10 of whom are still serving. All but one said that when off duty and out of uniform, they had been victims of racial profiling, which refers to the use of race or ethnicity of grounds for suspecting someone of having committed a crime. 24 out of 25 officers on the force believe that they have been racially profiled. How then are they supposed to take a leadership role, if you will, into solving what happens at the community level, at the grassroots level, when they themselves feel a threat from fellow cops?
Well, yeah, and I understand that, you know, considering New York is 35,000 police officers and only around 6,000 are black, so 25 in a representative pool, I can take it for what it's worth. I can say that racial profiling does exist, and how do we do our jobs? We break down barriers. We continue to diversify the police force. We continue to diversify the command staff. We continue to engage with the community and embrace and engage each other for breaking down cultural barriers that exist. This is not a fact that we would take lightly. We believe that it exists, and some of those police officers around the nation have been victims of racial profiling and what they believe to be. And the problem becomes, how do we get over it? How do we actually culturally engage each other and respect each other's points of view so that we can understand that some things that may be problematic for some groups are not problematic for others?
Then how do we get over it? Let's deal with them. How do we then get over it? Because would you not agree that we're at a time when black officers, male and female, have to become leaders? They need to take leadership roles here because if we're going to succeed on the ground, they need to step forward more than ever before.
Well, I think what you have around the nation, for instance, we have dozens of chapters around the nation with, venerated, validated leaders who happen to be black, who head local black police associations, who have been taking leadership roles for 30, 40 years.
Then why is it not getting any better if they've been doing it for 30 or 40 years?
Oh, I would beg to differ. I think things are getting better. They just aren't where they should be. This isn't a place where you have black officers who can only answer calls in a black neighborhood, or can't take anyone to jail, or can't get dressed in the locker room, or can't be in a detail with other white officers. Yes, things have gotten better. Are they where they need to be? No, of course not. And that's what we've been doing. Black Police Association leaders, local, regional, and national, have been addressing this situation for decades. And only when tragedy happens or things are personified on a national level are we able to even get a microphone or get to talk to people like you.
But do you really need a microphone, though? And again, I'm going to play devil's advocate here. Do you really need the microphone, or is it more or less what happens behind the scenes in working with the officers of all color?
Well, I'll say you need both, but I can tell you even behind the scenes, you look at black police associations across the nation, and you find us in the community. You find us in mentoring programs, reading programs, food giveaways. You find us doing all kind of things in rehab and reentry. You find us in the community engaging with the people who we serve. So, yes, you need both, and we need our stories to be told because the police department, until Ferguson, diversity, 3 out of 50 officers being black, didn't come to light. So we need to have the dialogue on both sides with our comrades, and we don't need to make sweeping indictments of white officers who we deem to be racist and say everyone's racist because one or two exhibit those kind of, attributes or characteristics of being a racist, because I've seen many white officers culturally aware, engaged in the community, and doing sometimes more than officers of color.
There we go. There we go. I got about a minute left, but I need to ask you something on that. Don't we need to get to the point where the people, whether they're black, white, blue, green, whatever, in their community, they trust the police officers of every color, not just having black officers in black communities, but having white officers there as well, and trust them that they are there to protect them? Isn't that where we need to get?
Oh, yeah, definitely. That's a noble place to be, and we're making strides to that. And we're going to fight inside the system to actually make greater gains so we can embrace each other. And sometimes that's very hard. It's very difficult to do. But we're going to get there. It's just going to be a struggle for all of us to become blue, for the community to trust us. But we're going to have to immerse ourselves, white and black, into these communities, and we're going to have to understand each other and our cultures that come with that and respect it. We're going to have to respect it. And then we can cross that bridge. There's a solution on the other side of the bridge. We're going to I wear this uniform with pride. I wear my badge with pride. I think the black officers around the nation, they wear it with pride, and they engage with each other. And there's 99% of white, black, Latino officers who want to do the right thing in their communities, and we're getting sidetracked with 1% of bad people who we often get rid of.
I'm glad you said that. That's where we're going to have to end. Malik Aziz, we thank you so much for your comments. A very Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year to you and yours.
Thank you so much for having me again. I appreciate you so much.
My pleasure. Take care. Breaking, we're back with just another day in college sports, where the star player gets away with just about everything.